Thanks again for stopping by, everybody. This is Budget Wine with Bacchus Bruce. Really pleased to have you here this afternoon. I have a very interesting white wine to take a look at here. This is the 2010 Long Gamma White Wine Blend. This is Sonoma County juice that I got at the grocery outlet here in Hayward for $5.99. Typically, you tend to shy away from white wines that have turned such a distinct amber color. Typically, but this is not a typical kind of format here because old wines are very interesting, and this is an 8-year-old white wine that's got a bit of pedigree. So the Reynoso family vineyards and winery in Alexander Valley did this little blend as kind of a little side project, maybe a little experiment. Typically not what they're doing, at least not nowadays, with a very exotic blend. So let's just go through that really quick here. So 52% Viognier, 25% Sauvignon Blanc, 9% Roussanne, 9% Grenache Blanc, and 5% Orange Muscat. So a little bit of a kitchen sink sort of wine. Again, very interesting and unusual to say the least. So for $5.99, I thought I would take a flyer and see what we got. So just briefly on the 2010 vintage, it was a bit of a challenge in California. So white wines weren't as impacted because the harvest for the most part was in. There were some pretty serious, I think 4 inches in a lot of places, early October rainstorms that came in and really made red wines a big mess to try to deal with. So the white wines were for the most part in though. So this is coming in at 13%, so the grapes were certainly picked at desirable Brix levels for sure. So really excited about this wine though. I don't oftentimes see a pure amber colored wine like this one. So let's go ahead and go into the wine and see what we have on the nose. And as you can imagine, with Viognier being half the wine, it is very pretty. So there's a lot of white flower, dried white flower for me. So a little bit of jasmine, a little bit of peach blossom as well, which is really terrific. There's also kind of a citrusy lemon-lime component going through it as well, which is really nice, almost kind of going into minerality a bit. And as you can imagine, with wine that's got a little bit of age on it, white wines tend to have a nuttiness that tends to show itself. And this one has, because of the sweetness in the orange muscat and sometimes the Viognier, has more of a candied nut kind of component. So I'm getting almost like candied cashews or toasted cashews, which is really terrific. Not really smelling much barrel influence. More than likely, if any, it saw some neutral. So so far so good. So let's see what we have on the palate here. And the mouthfeel is actually very balanced. The acidity is low to moderate, but what it does have is a certain clean kind of taste sensation. It kind of has a little touch of oxidation, which, as you can imagine, in an 8-year-old wine, white wine, might happen, particularly with a screw top, because screw tops really haven't shown themselves to be efficient long-term solutions for finer wines. But this isn't necessarily a finer wine per se. I'm not quite sure what the value at the time, 2012, I would imagine, was. The wine's currently not in production anymore. It's not available. So who really knows? But that said, it does have a really kind of almost like a sherry sort of thing going on. So you get that oxidation, which is maybe a minor flaw, but it really kind of adds a little bit to the kind of uniqueness of the wine. So it's really terrific. It has a wonderful mouthfeel. Roussanne, which is at 9%, does have a little bit of a reputation as having a little bit of a nutty component to it. In its friendship with Marsanne, which is not in this blend. But it's really a unique wine. It's really fun. It's really interesting. It has a really actually clean finish and not as sweet as I would have expected with the orange muscat being kind of in there. It's really more kind of silky and textured and really a fun little wine. So the Long Gamma, and again, Long Gamma is an astronomy term for a gamma ray burst. And gamma ray bursts can either be short or long. Long gamma ray bursts bursts are 2 seconds or more, and these are visible light bursts that that tell you that a galaxy is in the midst of being formed. So kind of a unique name for a wine, kind of deep and interesting, like the wine. So budget wine, Bacchus Bruce, the 2010 Long Gamma Sonoma County Fruit, $5.99 at the grocery outlet in Hayward. Thanks so much for stopping by, and have a wonderful rest of your day.